Abani Ganya, everyone. This is Professor Amen Rahh, Professor Emeritus, California State University of Long Beach. Welcome to the Conscious Corner. I'm a former city councilman for the city of Compton, former Compton College Board of Trustees, and former Compton Unified School District Board of Trustees. We want to welcome you and let you know you found a conversation in a peaceful place. And we wish for all of you blessings without numbers, all good things without end. This is going to be a very important discussion led by one of our hard working and providing organization, service, and struggle on behalf of the African-American community in Inglewood, where he's a two-time city councilman, has been elected twice and once as a mayor. He started the first youth BAPAC, Black American for Political organization in Inglewood, and he's done a wonderful thing when he was a student at Cal State, where he helped organize their campus and activities such as the Ron Settles protest, as well as just being one of the most popular young men on the campus and organizing and speaking out against apartheid and South Africa and speaking out against any issue that was problematic for us as an African-American community. He's recently got his PhD from Cal State Long Beach, so we call him Dr. Daniel Tabor now, but some of y'all know him as Danny, but that's still, he preferred his mother's name, the name his mother gave him, Dr. Daniel status. Not that he's being uppity, but in a world in which our people sometimes don't realize the importance of achievement. And they want to say, just act like you're still at the park playing basketball and call your names. No, this man needs to be respected and honored for his hard work and getting a PhD. Less than 3% of us as Black people earn PhDs from accredited universities. And I want to thank him for being a role model and an example for our people. We're honored to have him on the show to talk about no sitting on the sidelines in this election and Black men for Kamala, as they say, Kamala Harris and her vice president. So without further ado, Dr. Daniel Tabor wants to add something to his bio, he's welcome. And then we're going to let him present some discussions, present some topics and urgency of the matter with regards to politics this year. And then at the same time, we're in challenging times, people. We've always been in challenging times, but we're even more challenging time today to raise the consciousness of our people because of so many diversions and so many seductions that the dominant society used to drift our people away from themselves. We want to welcome Brother Mike Jones again, who's just tuned back in, and his hard work with youth and aerospace dynamic. And so we're going to get started with Daniel opening up with some comments, and then each and every one of you can either make a comment, brief comment, or ask him questions for clarification on the points that he made. Now, this is the platform where we do not speak negative about Black people. All that talk about we ain't doing nothing and we ain't got nothing and Black on Black crime don't go on this platform. We see our people as a sacred people who introduced to the world morals, ethics, and values, going all the way back to ancient history. Started the first social organization called the family and built communities and civilizations at that. Now, I know a lot of people don't see us like that because you let the oppressor define us. We have to define ourselves. So we are sacred people, the most spiritual people. We're the moral compass of this country. And that's why Martin Luther King said that, we as a Black people, one day people will honor us for our work and the accomplishments that we've made. So without further delay, my good friend and good scholar and good activist scholar, Dr. Daniel Tabor.
Brother Amen Rahh, Brother Professor Amen Rahh, Brother Brother Leader, Amen Rahh, thank you very much for that introduction. And I see many friends on this call, and my daughter is joining us once again. So I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation. I want to begin by saying some of us remember the expression "a luta continua," and the work
continue.
and you said that early on in your conversation. I'll put my headset on so I'm not disturbing the rest of my house here.
We can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Should be now. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I was saying we have the responsibility daily to pick up the struggle wherever we are in whatever space we're in. And on this call, we've got individuals that are talking about the hydrogen hub. And some of you may not even know what that is. The hydrogen hub being proposed as a major development, close to $1 billion development down in San Pedro. We've got folks on this call who are influencing the California Legislative Black Caucus by representing and running not only their PAC, but helping build their understanding and connections with other legislatures. We've got folks on this call who've been at the struggle in the front of the labor movement and making sure that Black folks are well represented when it comes to organized labor, but more importantly, are a part of the future of organized labor. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about what we have to do to not be on the fence when it comes to getting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz elected president and vice president here in the United States, and why that's important. And I want to put a little spin on it to say that what I hope we spend some time talking about is how do we, as the elders now in our community, and I look around the room, I can say that comfortably, how do we engage in conversation with young people in a way that says to them, we are listening, we are interested in hearing what you're thinking, what you're saying, and more importantly, we are interested in building off of what you know and adding to your funds of knowledge so that you can represent us in the leadership capacity coming forward. And that begins by understanding what their position is on Kamala Harris as president and sharing with them what we believe the reasons are for why we support her. So with that, I just want to say, let's get into it and chop it up. And I'm interested in hearing the perspectives and finding a way to communicate better, not just to you all, but to the younger folks who we need to really, if we're going to win this election, we need to bring them into the family, into the fold, and get them energized in the way that we've been energized.
There's many different layers to the challenge you put forward, because obviously Sister Harris has to navigate a nationwide audience, and we know there are powerful forces that pull in all kinds of directions insofar as that is concerned inside this country. And it probably would be impossible for her to satisfy all of our perspectives on what should be done or should be proposed or not proposed, or her platform should or should not be. And we have to be able to weigh it out in a way that we look at what is most in the interest of our people, of humanity on this planet, if it be looked at like that, in terms of what we can find that's most workable for future action. Certainly, we will probably wound up without having 100% agreement on everything policy-wise that she has to address, and where she's intellectually, experience-wise, and also with the politics of what and constituencies across the country she has appealed to. So some people get frustrated and alienated because they don't hear 100% of what they want to hear coming from her. And I think we have to look at it more in terms of a chessboard. Where do we get the most push and pull, and be prepared to continue our struggle on issues we may have differences or even disagreements with her, and still stay focused on the primary concern is that we don't want an idiot in office, a dangerous idiot. And I think that should be somewhat of a guiding principle for how we approach our conversations and our conversations with the youth.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we talked earlier, Brother Rahh and I did, about reacting and responding to some of what we heard her say and what we heard others say during the Democratic National Convention last week. And Brother Lisi, I think you touched right on a point, is that a lot of people believe that the president or the role of the president is omnipotent, that that whatever they want to have happen can happen. The reality is, in this form of government, there is separation of powers, and it is the legislature that truly enacts the programs and begins to capitalize on the using their power, their authority to construct the laws and regulations that guide us. It is the president's office that really helps to crystallize where we're trying to go, where they think we should go. But it's dependent upon the other house, the House of Representatives, the Congress, the representatives, and the Senate to really make it move. So we have an opportunity now to elect a president, a vice president that can sit and in some way speak to the things that we prioritize that are important to us and represent the needs of our community. At the same time, we need to recognize that we need to also make sure that we're talking to our congressional and Senate representatives at the state level and at the federal level in order to make sure that what we want to have happen can happen and gets done in that way. But I want to take us away down that path. Yeah, we'll probably walk that path as we get into the conversation today. But I thought there were some very clear moments for me at the convention. Let me give you just two, if I may. One was the conversation that D.L. Hughley had with the audience, where he nationally, in front of, as he said, the whole world, apologized for not understanding who Kamala Harris is and had been, and that by her tapping on the shoulder and just saying, don't take my word, look it up, do some research about who I am and what I've done, and his going out and doing the research changed his position, and he offered an apology to her for talking about her without knowing the facts. And I think what I've learned in this past week, really talking with my daughter, she's been sharing with me videos of others who are saying the same thing. I did the research, and I got to apologize for what I've been saying about her, because now I know from what she said and what she's done, her record as an elected official, that she is sensitive to our needs. She is open to what we are trying to get done, and she has the ability to frame the partnership needed to successfully move our agenda as she moves the country's agenda, one and the same and independent of one another. So I think, for me, that was one move. And the other is as my daughter will say, and I'm not going to speak for her because she's able to do that very well for herself, that there were a lot of young people who wanted Michelle Obama to be running and who are now slowly listening and hearing a voice that speaks to them in Kamala Harris, and how we can help centralize that voice, collectively add to that voice, and become surrogates of what we feel is necessary. I mean, we can be against 45 and his return to power. We can be against Project 45 for all that it means and the destruction of our community, our families, and all that. But we have to tell them why we're for Kamala Harris and how that translates to what their, as Sinclaire said last week, what their struggle is. So those were the two moments that stood out. I mean, there's a lot else going on, but that stood out as a call for us for call for action. And certainly there were statements in her acceptance speech that we could talk about. But I'm interested in hearing anyone else follow the convention and any other points that they think come and call to us and say, yes, we can move from here. If there's anything else out there like that.
So, first of all, Danny, I'd like to congratulate you on and achieving the PhD status. I hadn't seen you online for a while until you made that announcement. I was happy to see it, and it gave me inspiration.
There we go,
Go
brother.
back and do some things, but let me just deal with the question you put on the floor.
Yeah.
How do we connect with young people? That's been an issue that I've been trying to deal with for the past couple of years here in LA. I'm the president of Blacks in Technology, and I've been trying to engage young folks regularly to get them to step up into some of the leadership positions with our program. And basically, our program is to try to identify employment opportunities here in LA, which is the fastest growing tech market in the country. But Professor Rah's son has a program called Knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was one of the most progressive academic programs that I've seen going around online. And Kamala kind of addressed this in her speech when she talked about us being leaders in technology and AI. And I think that will be the point where we need to really try to draw some of those kids in. You know, she's not going to have a problem with students who attend HBCUs. Kamala was my classmate at Howard, and we were on a debate team together. So everybody from Howard, everybody from HBCUs are proud that there's a great possibility the next president of the United States will be a HBCU graduate. It's the other kids, the other youngsters that did not go to a HBCU, that does not understand the value or the caliber that the progress that she's made. So I'm thinking, and I'm all ears because I need to know this more than anybody else. How do we reach these kids, and how do we kick doors open for them to walk in and have an opportunity to do great things?
Yeah. So Amari, let me just jump right here. I saw the hand clap for you from my daughter Sinclaire, who's laying low in the cut, as we used to say, right now. So she'll blast in when she's ready to say something. But what we're hoping is that we find a way to carry on with what you've doing in the technology space, and recognize that this generation of young people has had technologies from the cradle.
Exactly.
You know, they've been, you know, that it is their tool of life, and in most instances, it's the means of communicating that we're just on the outset of. No, even if we're like Edmund, we're using it to communicate what's happening from a policy standpoint. There's so much more to it that allows for both the creative and the communicative aspect of who we are. Let me make one correction. I earned an educational doctorate degree, an ED. We are the doers of the process, not the philosophers of the process.
If I could say something, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Mr. Bakari, you hit it on the nail with the kids that didn't go to college. I think I would reach out to those kids and tell them you're not disappointed in them. They didn't let you down. They didn't upset you. They didn't make you look bad by not taking those next 4 years and getting more education, that there is a restart button, and you could also restart, and you're important also. Because I feel like a lot of the college kids, or the kids that did not go to college, I should say, sometimes I'm one of those people. I didn't go to college, and we sometimes feel like our voice is unimportant, or what we're saying is not intelligent enough to be heard in a room. So just acknowledging the people that didn't go to college, that they are still important people, I think allows them to open up their ears to the people like you in this call, on the Zoom call, and us like actually being like, okay, I can listen to this person. He doesn't, or she doesn't look down upon me, and it's room for us to grow together and learn together.
I agree with you. You know, one of the things that I try to promote in the tech industry is you don't need a college education to make a six-digit income in the tech industry. You need those skill sets that Danny just said that, you know, this young generation was born playing with digital games and social media engagement. So yeah, those are some of the messages that I think we really need to give to these young folks is that it doesn't matter that you didn't go to college, because opportunities are still available for you to make living wage jobs and excel in the tech industry. But I think we've got to also convey that message. That's got to be loud and clear for someone like Kamala to take issue with it, because young folks, I mean, we look at everything in education or in academics. Our community and the Latino community are behind when it comes to the basic standards of math, reading, and history and science in the schools. But we need to find ways where we can train these youngsters, and like this young lady said, give them a voice and allow their voices to be heard in decision-making procedures that they have to deal with from day to day. So I'm looking for that. I'm looking for a way to communicate with these young folks. And again, Professor Rah's son, Amen Rahh Jr., his program Knowledge is probably the most exciting thing that I've seen going on with young folks. And I'm sure there's a lot of other programs, but we've got to connect with them. We got to make sure we continue to open doors for them. And we got to make sure that they do have a voice and we're listening to them.
Yeah, Knowledge is a phenomenal group. I work with them sometimes. They go to elementary schools and high schools, and they bring a lot of excitement to Knowledge. And I think when I actually do look at them, I've been to 2 events at a school with them, but I haven't done like outside work. But even at the schools that they go to, I think I've been blessed to be able to have my dad that's in his early 70s. Then I have a sister in her early 40s, and et cetera, et cetera. But what I'm trying to say is maybe somebody like my friend Nico, who hosts is majority of the Knowledge events, if she had like an older woman Kamala's age or your age to say, hey, I have this event today. Let me bring you to the schools and let's have a dialogue in front of these kids to show them they can have a dialogue with an adult the same way. I think it's a lot of just showing them the way and being okay with saying, okay, maybe I missed a step or maybe I missed a moment to educate somebody younger than me. So let me just try to educate one more or something like exactly how you saying.
I don't think that a lack of a formal education is a bar, particularly as we see in this tech space, as we are, now. And we've got to be careful that that we don't confuse indoctrination with education as it relates to our community, because we continue to go to these institutions. And I don't want to be critical of HBCUs because I went to one, but we still put the focus on solving white folks' problems. That's why we go to school. And so until we, now, I'm anxious to find out, and I haven't done any longitudinal study, and there hasn't been one done that I've seen, that chronicles what a child does when they are taught to solve their own problems. Because like, Amos Wilson says, every classroom that has a Black and a white students, you have 2 different point of views there. The issues that you have there for us, we're sending our children to school aspiring to something that they're never going to really benefit from. And, in my day job, I'm an employment discrimination attorney, and I see it over and over and over again. The great Mike Jones, who's joined us on the call, always says, "No, we've got to be transactional about these things. And until we do that, we're going to come up short." And I'm not, I'll allow him to speak on his characterization of the education system, but we have got to do a better job of, number one, defining what success looks like for us in this education system, because we continue to produce students that are well financed by us, well backed by us, but drive past every opportunity in our community to go and serve someone whose total interest is against them, who's waged war against them. So we've got to do a much better job of that.
Larry, just to kind of catch on to what you just said and the brother before you, I think relative to the education piece is really like our politics piece. We have to be both strategic and flexible. You know, we got to be strategically disciplined, but tactically flexible, so we can make adjustments to the circumstances without changing our fundamental trajectory or direction. The other thing that I've had the opportunity to think about over the last 7, 8 years since I've basically been retired is we have not really taken into consideration the impact of the cultural, technological changes in America, social changes in America over the last, let's say, 40 years. And that for most of our time in America, there was one Black experience. If you're a young person in America, and I'm gonna say young, under 45, there's a real gap between their Black experience, their American Black experience, and me at 75 and my American Black experience. And we don't really have anymore a common vocabulary to talk to each other about who we are and where we are. Because if you think about somebody 20 years old, they would not know what you were talking about if you said the impossibility or the problem, structural problems with American politics, because in their lifetime, Barack Obama was the president. They saw a Hillary Clinton run for president, and as terrible as Donald Trump has been, Kamala Harris is the response to Donald Trump now. So to try to create a conversation to connect their current American experience as a young Black person in America to our historical American experience is that's a real challenge, and we haven't done it. If you're 20 years old, unless you knew your great grandfather or mother, you don't know anybody who lived during the Great Depression and World War II. And you think that might as well be the Great Crusades or the Civil War. And really, it was yesterday from a historical standpoint. So I think the rate of change and how much change and the impact that it has had on our community internally and externally is something we got to figure out how to calibrate.
Could I share a little bit of what we had a conversation today about in Compton? And that is that, I'm 70 years old, getting ready to make 71. There was another brother in the room who's a bit older than me, and one brother who's in his 40s. And, I came of age in the middle of the late 60s and early 70s. And I don't think that the current generation has any clue how devastating the COINTELPRO operation, which was executed in the late 60s and early 70s, how devastating it was in terms of wiping out a whole generation of brilliant leadership and filling the void with various forms of drugs and police repression and the decapitation of a serious movement among our people at the ground level. We had a brief uprising, justifiably, during the Rodney King rebellions and et cetera, and the Black Lives Matter afterward that. But in terms of having a deep understanding of how important the collapse of our movement in the 60s was, there's no generational connection. And we who have lived this long have a heavy responsibility of digesting this era of our struggle, and what are we going to try to do to point our youth in a direction that can revitalize or give a different spin to, but some kind of a direction for us to recuperate from body and head blows. And that's what I think happened with COINTELPRO in the late 60s and early 70s. They were body to our people.
That point of anyone, I would say under 30, may not be familiar with the term COINTELPRO, so certainly won't understand the impact it had on the community during our time. But I want to follow Brother Jones's thought that, and let me, since we're saying this in my 69, not yet 70 years on this planet.
You're still a young man then, huh?
Right. Thank you very much, Brother Jones. Thank you very much, Brother Jones. I fashioned my, and let me just say this first. Rahh,
Yeah.
we found out tonight that our children have been working together and we didn't know about it. And we think we talk to our children. So it's good to know that the spirit of community action and service to the community, transcends in some respects our ignorance about what we've been able to impress upon our children. And that I think is important, that we understand that they may not be doing it in the way that we did it, but there are young people out there doing it on behalf of other young people. And that question of how do we communicate, and how do we utilize and adapt the technology as a means of communicating is our challenge. We are still young enough to learn new things, and we've got to actively do that. Both of you, I don't know if you guys have been tracking the screen, but Sinclaire has been clapping it up for everybody that's spoken so far. And that, what I know is that means she's hearing it the way she's now able to interpret it, that we're onto something. So that's a good thing. And Brother Larry Fields, thank you. You hit the nail on the head. The representation piece of who we are and the opportunities that they perceive themselves to have, we've got to figure out how to convey that at an earlier age consistently over time, and do that longitudinal study that says, these are the reasons we're being successful. These are the methods we're using to achieve that success. And now let's replicate that in various places. We got to use these degrees we have to the benefit of our community.
Thank you. I will.
I think this kind of add on that point. There's not like a lot of James Baldwin's in here, or Maya Angelou's, or Toni Morrison, and the fact that you guys you talked about three different points in life that you guys went to as many black people. Yeah, you don't have those same offerings or leaders, or we probably do, and we should focus a lot more attention on those people and bring them up a lot more. But I think people like you guys,
Sinclaire, you're not coming in clear. Can you repeat what you said and kind of make an announcement so we can hear you better, please?
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me see. Can you guys hear me better?
Yes, much better.
Okay. I basically just want to say, to the points of you guys were saying, like, people under 35 or people under 30 won't know a certain word, or we won't know certain things that's happened in our past history of Black people that you guys have walked through or lived through or been there for. And then we are missing people like James Baldwin that give us a perspective and tell us what success looks like in his own perspective, or Toni Morrison that allows us to dream, or Zora Neale Hurston, who gives us a day-to-day dialogue of what's going on right now and how we turn the page of it. And so I think if you guys yourselves, not anybody else, just you guys yourselves, open up a conversation in a basketball gym or a coffee shop or something in that nature, I think a lot of us, including myself, I get inspired every time I hop on a call with you guys to push it for you guys. It's almost like putting a battery in our pack, our battery in our back, and giving us points to speak on. And then we get excited that we are passionate, or we get excited to know these points, and then we get passionate to teach them to our peers. So it's just giving us like a battery of education, how you guys are saying right now.
Brother, let me see, Brother Shawara, you have a comment? This is about engaging youth in political, social, economic, and educational activities. Hopefully,
Yes,
they would vote, trying to get them out to vote, and anybody else to support Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. Yeah.
well, I would like to just say something about voting and the youth and really what it is that we're doing when we vote. I don't really want to address the candidates, because I don't think the candidates really represent America, especially Black people. Neither one of them, they're both Republican and one is Democrat. Now, the historical timeline that we're on right now, with the advent of the civil rights movement and the achievements that we made through those years since the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act and all of this, and we have lived through that. And I think what the young people today are looking for is a way in which they can exercise their self-determination, their self-reliance, and their self-sufficiency. I don't think they're seeing that in today's Black consciousness and Black community. They do see advances in education. They do see advances in business and engineering and corporation and HBCUs and stuff like that. But they don't see that self-determination, that self-reliance where we provide for ourselves, where we begin to mobilize our educated scholars and our educated achievers and our engineers, and we begin to specifically address our problems. And I think that's what the youth want to see. I don't believe the children of today, the youth of today, the young people of today really want to hear a lot of talking. They want action. And I think when they don't see that, they then begin to look at the generation that came through the civil rights movement and came through all this struggle as a people that is not their time. So this is our time now, and so on and so forth. But what is missed is that we're all here together. The elders are here. The new generation is here. And we all have the information, but we're not tying it and linking it in together to where we look at ourselves and we make an attempt at least to say we've been through all of those things of the Malcolm X times and the Martin Luther King times and the John F. Kennedy times, and we've been through all of that. Now let us look at ourselves, look at one another, look at all the achievement we've made, but look at the condition of Black people in America. Look at Black communities, and we're still struggling to just keep what you call our right to vote, to keep our civil rights, which we now have. We died and we did all this stuff just to get civil rights. Now that we got it, we're now involved in another struggle just to keep it. And I don't think that is fair. I don't think that is fair in American system. I look at the educational system here. We don't have a problem. Our young people don't have a problem because they are all into the educational system of this and fabric of this country. I think what is going on is this country by design has created an education system to educate our children out of the knowledge of themselves. thank God for people like Dr. Ben and
Yes, yes.
Diop and different people that has come and spoken the truth. They won't allow these things be taught into the schools, so they call it a theory, when it's really, they call it critical race theory, but it's really critical race history, which is
Yes.
a part of American true history. And if
Yes.
our children were getting that in the educational system, I do believe and I know that we would not be in the situation we're in today, because not only will our children understand who they are, but the children of the colonizers and the imperialists would also understand who we are and have a greater respect for us.
Right.
So until we begin to address our situation directly and without cowardice,
Hey,
and
okay, I'll share. We got to get some other people in, brother.
all right, my brother, I
This
didn't
is
say
this
it
is
was quiet, but
this is
I'm gonna
about.
be quiet for the rest of the evening. I just want to really hear what everybody talking about.
All right,
All
but this is about getting them to be engaged, not to criticize them for not being engaged.
Well, one of the ways you get engaged is to criticize where we're not at, where we need to be at, and where we're at. You have to be able, you have to look at the whole kit and caboodle to come up with a real solution that is sustainable. Because if it's not sustainable, if it's just going to be this election, then when the election is over, then what's going to happen? We're going to really and truly see
That's
what
right.
Kamala is dealing with, or
Right.
we're going to really and truly see, huh?
Brother Chosen. So can I say something real quick? Just to let anybody that's really listening know what's going on, what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
We just found out that Sinclaire and Amen Rahh, Principal Rahh, has collaborated in doing work in schools, and they're going to have their own schools. This is Black youth, Black young adults collaborating with things that we need. So it's happening. So let's move forward. Go ahead, Professor Rahh.
Brother Hembrick, Joe, you on? Historian Hembrick?
Sir.
You worked at Centennial, you worked at Linwood, you engaged a lot of young people. And what was your strategy?
Well, I like what's behind the guy that's the main speaker. I really love that Think Like Garvey. And as far as dealing with young people, I think that's where we need to go. I know about the scholarly thing and all that, but I think the grassroots level of that kind of movement and thinking is what we need. You know, we got those going to college, your kids, my kids, but the grassroots kid that kind of feels left out and looking around and they do what they see, and we know that the educational system is job training. It's not education. Education is something you gotta go to the library and do for yourself to get the real. And I think when we can look in the mirror and love what we see and come together as people, and African-wise, that's what these kids want to see. They want to see something. And, whatever, the thing that I did was just expose them to what had happened and the people that they didn't know nothing about, like Garvey and folks like that. And, they didn't even know about Malcolm. But anyway, I just tried to expose them to the truth. Although I was supposed to have been teaching history, I taught the truth instead. But just listening, I thought this was about Kamala. I hear some brothers out there that's not with voting for her. I don't understand that at all. Can somebody address that for me? Because I heard some names that was really disturbing of people that are kind of talking negative about the system. Although we know that the corporations is running everything, but still, this is an historical thing, and this system's going to do more than I think the others, at least try. And we know it takes the House and the Senate to get anything done. So can someone address me about certain Black men that are opposed to voting for her? Can anybody speak to that?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in with an opinion. Larry and Charles and I had this conversation Saturday, in fact, and I kind of took the position that one of the things, and I said something I heard Dick Gregory say once about when people complain about our use of the English language. And Brother Gregory said, well, if we speak bad English, we didn't know English when we got here. So we learned how to speak English from bad talking white folks. And there's a toxic, patriarchal, misogynistic part of American male culture. And as much as we think we are different, and we are, we're also products of this larger macro culture. And it may express itself a little differently in our community than it does in the white community. I said Saturday, the white boys are on 1 and 3, and we on 2 and 4. So whatever messed up part it is, we just do it with a little bit more rhythm. But the reality is we have not critiqued ourselves and what it means to be a colonized people for an extended period of time in this society. And we end up with a lot of the negative behaviors and values that are also in the dominant culture. And because our stuff doesn't look and sound like theirs, we miss the fact that some of the foundations of it are just as negative. So I would generally think, and I'm not a psychologist, but I'm going to suggest that it comes from a certain level of insecurity amongst some men that feel minimized by women being successful. And I guess I struggle with that because everybody here had to have a mama. We had sisters, you have wives and stuff like that. So it's kind of like half the planet are women. So the real question is, what value system are you drawing from when you can't feel that everybody should be the best version of themselves, whatever that means, to maximize their human potential? And that's an endemic part of American culture relative to women, and it's basically a misogynistic value system that is, I think, is starting to, just out of demographics and necessity, is losing its grip. And what you see is people responding to this rapid change that they don't know what to do with, and that's us too, to some extent.
Yeah. Brother Jones, let me do this. I saw Tommy's hand up for a while, but I don't want to lose that question that the brother asked, and I'm gonna pull a resource in just a second. Tommy, you had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, sure. We were talking about how to engage young people, and I want to thank the folks on the call who are not in the elder class like the rest of us. And thank you for being a part of this. What I would say is that the first time I had an opportunity to vote in a presidential election, I had the chance to vote for Jesse Jackson. That was in '88 in the primaries and trying to get him as a candidate. And today, you have more people who actually look like you and are within throwing distance of you. We have the youngest congressperson in Congress is a young Black man. You've got Jasmine Crockett, who is a superstar. You've got AOC, who is in her 30s. You've got all of these legislators, both at the federal level and at the local level, who are actually being change agents. And that's the sort of spirit that I would encourage young people to take within themselves, to realize that it's not just about voting, it's about doing and being. And if you are a person who's passionate about trying to be a part of making some change in the country and not sitting on the sidelines and letting people in the corporate media and in the super PACs that are throwing all the money around and controlling the process, there's an unprecedented opportunity for young people to get in this thing. And you don't have to do it at a big level. You can do it at the city level or the district level, or, you know, perhaps at a county level before, just to get into the process and participate in the process. When I was mentoring young men in a program that I work with, I was dealing with a lot of high school seniors, and they would say, well, we're not even voting for the president anyway. It's the Electoral College. And I'd have to say to them, well, yes, sure. In that one election for that one, technically two offices of president and vice president, your individual vote is not affecting the outcome. However, all of those ballots have multiple issues that are 100% simple majority. And if you look at the margin of victory in a state like Georgia that helped put Biden over the hump, which gave us Vice President Harris, which is giving us presidential nominee Harris, and hopefully soon to be President Harris, it was 11,000 votes. That's not even the capacity of a 1/3 sold out Beyonce concert. You all can make a significant difference. And you might not think about it in those terms, but there's a lot of power in these unrealized votes. There are lots of baby boomers who have left the planet since the 2016 vote. And there are twice as many people who were not voting age in 2016 who are voting age now. And that's a huge swing in the electoral politics and dynamics and power. So if young people are ready to embrace their destiny, not so much by looking back, not so much by thinking about what has gone before, but by taking advantage of the moment in the moment right now, you're in an unprecedented opportunity to actually make change, not only at the top of the ticket, but as brothers have alluded to, in the Senate. We've got Colin Allred ready to topple Ted Cruz in Texas. In the House, we're only a few seats away from taking the majority and giving the speakership to one of my peers, Hakeem Jeffries, out of New York. That'd be the first Black Speaker of the House, third in line for the presidency. And this is what you all are empowered to do. We are not going to be here that much longer, but you all who have a vested interest in your own futures have an opportunity to step forward, be energized, be engaged, and do the work right now in an opportunity that may not present itself again. So that's all I'd say. Please rise to the moment, and anything that you want to ask in terms of resources and anything like that, talking about you want to talk to your friends and peers about getting them excited and engaged, please feel free to reach out, and we stand ready to assist you in making history.
Let me do a quick introduction. Thomas Cunningham IV is the fifth. Wait a minute, is it the fourth or the fifth? I got
I'm the fourth. My son is the fifth. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, thank you very much. Is a podcaster as well as a commentator on political things going on around the country, and actually had a running podcast during the Democratic National Convention. He is the background for Black men for Kamala Harris. He is the one that puts our website together. So I wanted to, when he says work together, I want to get you and Rasiki together so that we can really pump this up. I want the question was, you know, what's out there? Why are we hearing that there are people who are not supporting the sister? And I wanted Sinclaire, and I'm trying to keep this real comfortable with everybody. Sinclaire is my daughter, but she is, as you see, has a mind of her own, and I'm a dad learning to deal with a daughter who's ready to step up and take charge. So I'm comfortable with in my own skin. And I told her I plan to be around here till 100 years of age with all kind of parts working, and so I'm going to be able to watch her do some of this work. But Sinclaire, share that the story you got from the young people you were talking to this weekend? Because I think that helps answer the question for the brother who's not heard and not understanding why people are. How could you even think like you want to go the other way?
Are you talking about
Don't use your speaker. You got to be direct in the phone because the speaker's not clear.
Are you speaking of the clip that I showed you, or
No, not the brother that's come to
hold
come
on
to
one
Jesus,
second.
but the young people who say his name was on the check.
Yeah, so there's a clip, and then there's a couple people who I went around and did like questions and surveys with this past weekend that are from 40 to younger, asking them, just like in the clip that I showed my father, and I'll send it to you guys as well, however I can. But just asking like, who gave you money during COVID, or who allowed you to have the stimulus check, who provided the money when you were in need, and all these things. And everybody was Donald Trump or the Trump administration, and nobody truly understood that the Democratic Party before Donald Trump gave us started the initiative of the stimulus checks, and then Donald Trump rewrote himself onto the check. But we have like so many apps and things on our phone, from CNN to Fox to different news channels and things like that. So yes, from our last conversation, we could do the research, but with all the media that's pushed out to us and news that's pushed out to us, without the critical thinking and the guidance of you all, we kind of believe what's in front of us sometimes, and we're gullible to the fact of, I needed help, I needed financial freedom, I got a stimulus check. This man is going on television, every news outlet, saying he's the one that gave it to us. Why would I not believe him? Nobody's really questioning or going against the fact that he gave us this money. And I'm able to spend it on my student loans or whatever it is that I was just in debt with. So you do have a lot of black men, or black people, I wouldn't say black men, people of the younger generation, like, well, this guy helped us out in a time of need, so why would I not bring him back into action to help me out even more?
And that's real. All
Sure.
right. Just like they got in line for the government cheese, they got the cheese, and whoever's name was on the outside of the wrapper, that's who the cheese came from. It didn't come from the collective work of Democrats in the Congress and in the Senate, pushing the administration that through the Obama administration into the early years of 45 to make this happen. And the point that I want to pull out is, it's now our opportunity, our collective voice, to help correct that misunderstanding. Not to say that they don't know, but to correct the misunderstanding so that they see the origins of that resource, and now validate that an administration makes a difference, but not that administration.
If I could, Brother Tabor, and thank you, Sinclaire, for sharing that perspective. This is Tom Cunningham again. One thing I would tell you, because I know you need a quick answer when somebody says something like that. The reason inflation is what it is now is because of that free money that he passed out. So you can say, oh, he did this to us, but when you now that gas is high or that food is high, one of the reasons it's high is because free money went out and demand increased. And when demand increases, prices go up. So in addition to the fact that Trump only signed, Dems put it in your pocket, it's also that he's complaining about inflation that he helped cause. And he also helped cause inflation by giving a tax cut that resulted in an $8 trillion under budgeting or under resourcing on the budget. So now everything that we do, all of our rates, everything tied to government spending is lopsided because he did a 1-2 punch of cutting taxes for billionaires, giving out free money, and pushing inflation. Three things.
Well, let's not forget the sanctions. Let's not forget the sanctions that he put on countries like China that provide goods and services that we buy, that we're paying the taxes on.
And he wants
that in there also.
And he wants to do more. He is now saying, just like he's saying he signed those checks, he's saying, I want to add a tariff. And he says that's a tariff that goes to other countries. But people who buy those things from other countries, the companies that buy, Walmart that buys Target that buys from China, they have to pass that expense on to you. They're not going to eat that out of their own profits. They're going to pass it right on to you. So if he says a flat tariff out of everything coming out of China, all of that tariff money is going to come out of your pocket. That's what Kamala Harris is talking about when she says the Trump tax. His tax policies will hit you hardest. Billionaires aren't spending money on toilet tissue and Doritos.
Right.
But we are.
It was something that she said right before my father spoke that I was like, man, not like that to disrespect anybody in this chat, but Mr. Tommy, you sound very young and you talk with the speed that people 13, 14 would be able to like get accustomed with. And I think that's another thing. Your generation, no disrespect again, and I tell my father this a lot when he speaks to younger crowds, you guys have a church background, and a lot of us don't have a church background, meaning that we're not at church every Sunday. We might have a faith in God and all that stuff, but we're not listening to a pastor take his time and preach a word to us so that we understand it. And so when you guys talk in such a slow tone, in such a preacher's voice, a lot of us are just turned off automatically because it's just like, one, if I go into church and I come as I am, you're probably not gonna accept me. Then two, I've only heard in this way, so it's kind of a turn off when it comes to like being informed in a certain way, because sometimes your grandmother is the only source of information or your grandfather, and they say it in a pastor way, in a preachable way. And so, Mr. Tommy, the way that you've spoken, I really think that you are a voice that could be used like every day and in the moment when it comes to middle school, high school, and older people.
Well, thank you. I have kids your age, and so I have to learn how to talk like this so that I don't go upside their head. So thank you.
All right. Brother Mashinda, you there? Brother Mashinda? He's out of Louisiana. Sometimes he steps away.
Yeah,
I
thought I saw him.
Yeah. Brother Mashinda said he's just listening.
Okay, then what about Ahi from Detroit? Ahi, you still there? Okay, maybe he stepped away. Anyone else want to make a comment?
Edwin,
You've got Charles Alexander, Dr. Charles Alexander is a psychologist that works with children all the time. So I would love to hear his thoughts on that, on how we can engage these youngsters.
But you know, Charles Alexander is one of our team members, and so he's always welcome to say something. Go ahead, Dr. Alexander. How's Chicago?
Good evening, Baba Rahh. How are you?
Black and beautiful.
That's what I thought. Good evening, everyone. I think I agree with what the young sister is saying in terms of, you know, our willingness to engage our young people. One of the things that I've seen in working in the schools, it's not uncommon for some of us to go into schools and be a little anxious about being in front of our kids. And our kids read that. And so sometimes those relationships don't always go well. And so even when we say we want to go in and do the work, sometimes we have our own insecurities about being in front of our kids because we too internalize some of the stereotypes that we hear. And so that's a level of work that we got to do amongst the grown folks, you know, to make sure we all understand that we are talking about our kids. And so, you know, to the degree that we can understand and accept that, you know, we can do better work across the board. And, you know, and right now, one of those things is getting young folks. And when I'm talking about young folks now, I'm talking about from, let's say, from 17 to 40. I'm 57. So I ain't no old man, but I'm older than all them. And I find a lot of, you know, even I'm having conversations with 40-year-olds about what's the use of voting. And so it's not just, this thing isn't just our young people, that are just coming of age into the voting piece. These are folks that are creeping into their middle ages. And so there's actually a lot of work that we have to do, and that we have to be thoughtful about doing.
All right. Good, Dr. Charles.
Brother Rod, Edwin Lombard had started to say something and didn't know if he wanted to finish his thought or.
All right. Lombard, then we go to Ahi, and then you make your closing comments, Danny, and I'll make mine. Go ahead. Where is he? Lamar, Dr. Who was it, Danny?
Edwin Lombard. Ed, I see you there. You ready to?
Gentlemen, hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. I just want to speak on two different things. First, I want to address the idea of how do we reach the younger generation, and how do we get them to engage? Over the last 6 or 7 years, I've been a part of an organization called the Community College African American Advisory Council. Our main purpose and function was to increase the number of young African Americans attending the community college system in California. We would have conferences up and down the state with a number of organizations that provide funding for things like books and help with tuition and things of that nature. Not too long ago, we were at a conference here in Sacramento, and we opened the forum to allow anyone who wanted to speak to have an opportunity to voice their opinion on things. It took some encouragement, but after maybe 10, 15 individuals had spoke, a young man way back in the back corner raised his hand, and they gave him the opportunity to speak. This is what the young man said. He said, "I appreciate all the things that you're trying to do for us. I appreciate the fact that you provided a way for us to get support with tuition, and you help us get the books that we need to be educated." He said, "But I'm sorry, but you're not meeting me at my need." And so they asked him, "Well, can you explain to us exactly what is your need?" And he said, "Well, I come from a single family home, and my mom, who is my initial parent, is incarcerated." And he said, "I'm homeless." He said, "So after school, most people jump on a bus and they go home and they have a meal to eat and they have a place to shelter themselves and they do their homework." He said, "The first thing I have to do is figure out where I'm going to go for the night. And then once I determine where that is, I have to scrounge up something so that I can have some type of nourishment. And then once I've accomplished that, then I've got to figure out where I can find a lighted position where I can actually do the study that I have to do in order to be functional in the class the next day." So he said, "As you can see, the need that you provided for me is not the need that I have." The most profound thing that came from that young man's conversation with us was that we need to speak directly to the youth so that they can tell us what they need before we provide for them what we think they need. So I think the most important thing that we can do is open forums where we can have these young people tell us where they are, what their struggle is, and how we can help them so that they can move and be able to take advantage of some of the other opportunities that we provided for them. That's number one. Number two, I'd like to speak about this whole Donald Trump situation and Kamala Harris. The biggest problem that we have with young Black men and Black men in general who said that they're not going to vote for Kamala is, I don't think they understand that Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. I don't think they understand that they allow this man to become the president of the United States. They will never have a vote ever again to determine who our leader is going to be. That means they're dialing that clock back. The opportunity that we provided for ourselves as African Americans in the United States are about to disappear, my friend, if we allow this man back in office. It might not be in the form that it was once where it was direct slavery, but it will be chattel slavery.
And our young generation, they might feel like we're not doing what we need to do to help them. But if they don't do what they need to do to help themselves, I'm sorry, we cannot help them anymore. The opportunity will have passed. And then they will wonder, how did we get to where we got to? And the problem is they're not paying attention. If you're listening to the wrong people, if you got the wrong people in your ear all the time telling you things are not going to be what Donald Trump says they're going to be, because I'm sorry, what I've learned from that man is what he says is what he does. And when he said that he wants to be a dictator for one day, I'm sorry, you don't become a dictator for a day and then dial it back. That's just who he is. That's what he's going to do. This Project 2025, if you read any piece of that thing or have any understanding of what it stands for, they're about to change the dynamic, and America will not be America anymore. And we might as well just pack our bags and go find some island to go live on. And I'm sorry if I'm rattling somebody's cages or I'm upsetting someone, but that's just the reality of it all. But we are missing our young generation by not allowing them to have a voice to tell us what they need and how they need it so that we can help them accomplish what they need to accomplish. And you're right. The gentleman spoke earlier about you don't have to have a college degree to get in tech and to be successful. You're absolutely right. But if you don't show them what the door is and how to get in that door, they don't know. They will miss an opportunity. And our Latino brothers and sisters, they're knocking that door down, brother. They're taking full advantage of every opportunity.
Yep.
You said a really
point their young people in the right direction. I'm done.
You said a really important part, Mr. Lombard, when you said that, that Donald Trump does what he says or something within that nature. And when you look at the generation, my generation, and you guys said earlier in the conversation that we want to see action, regardless to the action. I'm not saying that I agree with anything that he did. When he said, I'm going to put up borders, he put up borders. When he lied and said, I'm going to give you guys money to feed whatever, the stimulus checks were issued out and other things were happening. And it almost made him seem like he really was a man of his word. So when it comes to this younger generation, we're like, well, if he says what he's going to do and he does it, so why would I not believe a man that's doing action? And a lot of us are upset because we don't know about our past history. We don't know a lot of sacrifices or like within the Uncle Toms or the movie The Butler and the roles that those men had to take to make sure they pushed for us in progression of just Black hope and Black future. And it's almost like a lot of ignorant, or I want to say ignorant, a lot of people that are unintelligent to the fact of what we have been able to succeed and succeed in and be successful in and achieve. They're almost like, well, if he's a man of his word, let me stand behind him, because right now we're all about having our own businesses and having LLCs and being our own businessmen and things like that of that nature. So it's like, why not follow this man that says he's a man of his word, and why not get behind him? Even though I don't know all the points of why I should, he's a businessman, he's pushing money, and I see that he gets things done, and it's kind of scary to that fact, because I argue with a lot of people, or I debate a lot of people, and I have to like bring up other points of Obama or other presidencies like John F. Kennedy and Ronald Reagan and things, Jimmy Carter, and I have to give them multiple examples of why he's not so well. So if any of you guys could help me speak on those points of like, yeah, he does do what he says he's gonna do, but those points and those missions and what he's saying, those action items are not in our best favor.
Let me ask,
as an individual, not just a Black person.
Let me ask, how much was that money that Donald Trump gave these individuals? Because they act like they lost their mansions.
I know people that got $100,000. I know people that got $500,000.
Donald Trump?
I know people that got $10,000.
No, those were PPE loans.
Right.
I understand that, but you guys have them. Okay.
Okay, so
there's
wait, Sinclair.
PPP,
So
there's
hold on, just
SBA, there's all those other things, right?
Yeah.
Well, to my generation's point, we all think it came under Trump's administration, regardless of the EDD and wherever else we got the money from, legally or illegally. They think it was from Trump. So,
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. But let Ahi say something, and then anybody want to respond to her can. And then Danny, you close out, then I'll close out. Go ahead.
Okay. And I see Tommy's hand as well. So we got Brother Ahi, how you doing?
I'm doing well, my brothers and sisters. I'm really kind of sad this evening because I feel if the young people just knew what the three branches of government are and how they function, that would eliminate half the problem. And then the other problem is it's the easiest thing in the world right now with the internet is to fact check someone.
Yep.
I think that the young people need to put down this computer and pick up some books. The whole information that they are seeking, they're not seeking it. Because if they were seeking the information, they would have the information. And I know our educational institutions have failed our communities, especially our young people. And if things keep going in the way that they are, we are going to hell. Because it seems like they are completely out of touch with reality. And they want us to pull them back into reality. The information is here. I understand that they don't have an idea of what the executive, the legislative, and the judicial do and their function in America. But if they want to liberate and help liberate and keep the struggle going, they're gonna have to just taking somebody's word for it because it's fashionable now and what's ever popular in the code of personality and following somebody who's supposed to be a tough guy, but it's really a punk. He don't fight. He's never been in any type of athletics. He was given everything he had and he failed at everything. And that's not hard to find out. So I don't know what to say about it. It's like we're spinning in a merry-go-round or something out here where we're just in a false reality. We're just in a whole different reality, different from where we actually live and where we actually are. That's what I got to say about that. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Anybody want to respond to the young lady before Danny's close out?
I'm
looking at Tommy.
Yeah, that would be great. So Sinclaire, let me just say something real quick that you can throw back in these people's faces, because it's a word that you use every day. That's cap. Donald Trump has bankrupted 6 companies, including 3 casinos. How do you bankrupt a casino? When was the last time you heard of a casino going out of business? He is facing $500 million in fines in New York and $100 million against a woman, from a woman that he sexually abused. That's $600 million. None of your friends got a PPE loan for $100 million. And all of them that got those big PPE loans ended up going to jail because they didn't use them for the purpose they intended to. So they allowed themselves to be caught into a Donald Trump scam, and now they're in Donald Trump's prison because they took the money and didn't do what they were supposed to do. You can start as a baseline that every single thing that Donald Trump says on television is a lie. You don't trust a friend that you know at your high school who's a known liar. Everybody looks at them and cocks their eyes and rolls their eyes at them and gives them the side eye because they know they're a liar. That is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the worst liar. You talked about, he said he built the whole wall. 452 miles of wall new were built. There were already 600 plus miles of wall that existed before he came in. He didn't even do as much as existed before. Everything that he says is a lie. Starting from there, you might be able to penetrate, and then they say, oh man, 6 bankruptcies. 6 bankruptcies. He doesn't have any money. He is right now facing with 34 convictions, 34 felony convictions for money fraud. He is now also still looking at the January 6th. They just filed 4 new charges, 4 new indictments after they had to rescind the previous indictments. And he's still on the hook for the Mar-a-Lago case. This is not a guy to look up to. He's not that slippery and he's not that good. He has not done anything that he said he's done except overthrow Roe versus Wade with three Supreme Court justices that he handpicked to do exactly that. That is one thing that he delivered on. And if you all think that that's great to give up your bodily autonomy to a 78-year-old man, then that's spectacular, I guess. But I don't think that's what y'all really think. Everything is not about free and fake money. He talks about fake news. That was fake money. $1,700 a piece is not enough to sell your soul for. And if you talk about paying money back for student loans, Biden forgave hundreds of millions of dollars in student loans. Hundreds of millions of dollars that Biden, you didn't even have to get the check because Biden just made it go away.
Thanks, Tommy. Larry Fields has been holding there. Brother Fields?
Yeah. Well, I looked up the allocation that our folks are claiming took them to a new tax bracket, and it was $1,200 per person and $500 per child. I'm not going to say that that didn't help during COVID, but your loyalty should not be attached to any addle-brained individual for $1,700, particularly when he owes you more than that. If you ask him what he gave his friends in the corporate realm, this wouldn't even be beer money for them. So, I mean, once again, just as Tommy just stated, the flam man is getting the most leverage for every penny that he invests.
All right, good. First of all, I want to say Asante Sana, which is many thanks to all y'all for your wealth of knowledge and sharing. It speaks to the diversity of thought that we have as a people, even amongst ourselves on this platform with regards to our vision and our understanding of how to not only get youth involved in political activities, but as somebody mentioned, even adults. It's a challenge. And I think what Michelle Obama said at the convention, it's easy to talk about the problem, but are you doing something? My brother Shara, he introduced the concept of a new way of thinking. Brother Danny he started BAPAC at a young age. It was the youth BAPAC, Black American Political Association, in which I came in with a speaker. There are many young people that get their information from other sources. The average age in community college is 33 years old.
That's right.
33. Because people didn't go as soon as they got out of high school. The biggest employer of our youth is street gangs and dope dealers. They don't have to fill out no application. They don't have to pass no skill test. And stealing and robbing. They even call it, I'm putting in work. You understand? I've been a teacher almost all my life. A professional teacher at an institution. Danny can attest to this. Omari can attest to this. Wherever we were, we turned it into a Black school.
Yes.
Spoke to their values. We hit some and we missed some. Some took advantage of our information. Some just wanted the grades or the job. We know that. But we did some. We had free tutoring at Compton College. We addressed from 1979 to 2004. Free tutoring. How did we get the tutors? I gave them incentives. If you come and tutor in our community, you don't have to do a research paper. You do not have to do a research paper. And it worked. We had plenty of youth there, didn't it? Free children on a college campus too. But it started at Whaley Junior High. We went to Linwood Junior High School. We went to Juvenile Hall. I taught in Juvenile Hall. I had no problem communicating with the youth. And from elementary, all that. Because you speak with your heart and your mind, and they can feel it. And you understand. When you say you don't understand this generation, you're saying you don't know your kids, as Amos Wilson said. You got to watch them. You got to study and know what's going on. That's how you communicate to them. But if you communicate the way your daddy communicated to you, my daddy beat the hell out of us. He threw shoes, my mama, all of them. No, but I was able to raise my kids without raising their hand because I found another way to communicate that they could appreciate. And that's where Danny is too. He let his daughter speak her mind. He don't say, no, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. But in some war, well, because we had war, We have to draft our kids, those that are in control of their kids. But there's so many kids that are in foster homes. And the foster homes have no regulations, no inspections. Just take these kids and feed them until they're 18 and then turn them in the street. And their job is not to see that they do their homework. Not some of them. Some of the foster homes do a good job. Don't let me say that. But placement homes, and even some parents. When I came up, my mother never asked me did I do my homework. You understand? I didn't even take books home. You understand? I was a basketball player. That's all I was interested in, street. And back in the street. You have to learn your kids and monitor them and give them guidance from birth and never stop hugging them and telling them you love them. You got to win their hearts and minds. You got to win it and stay focused. But the challenge is getting them involved in politics. It got to become a value. It got to be a family value. Because the schools don't take you to vote unless you vote for student body president and all that. But as far as politics, they do what we do. Kids watch us. If politics is not important in the home, it's not going to be important in his mind. Now, I'm not just talking about arguing at the TV and cussing out Trump and all that. I'm talking about doing something. And one of the ways you do something to change is you be involved in your local politics, and you be involved in your county, state, and you make sure your kids realize that these people are making decisions that affect your life. Came up during the Watts Rebellion. Those were youth out there. In Detroit, that was youth. In Ferguson, there was youth. In Minnesota with George Floyd, that was youth. Youth, Martin Luther King, the Southern Christian SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Those were youth. The Black Panthers, youth. Us organization, youth. National Black United Front, youth. Jesse Jackson started out as a youth, but they were engaged at a young age. Many of our children are not engaged, and many of our adults are not engaged, and that's why the kids not engaged. They watch us. It's like I have to, tell them. I say, look, son, if you don't show me respect, your kids ain't. If you don't show me how to express love to me, and they don't see me showing love to you, they're not learning. That's how you teach family value. Now, Carter G. Woodson said we were miseducated. He wasn't just talking about schools. He's talking about our homes. That's the primary educating unit. Who taught you how to walk, talk? And all this generation gap. Are you saying your grandmama's disaffected out your life because she's older? Your mama who gave you life, they've been through what many of you youth are going through. And that's why we always say, if I knew what I knew now, then I'd be done. I'd have ate right, I'd have exercised, I'd have did this, I'd have did that. I'd have saved my money and bought a home at an early age instead of playing Pac-Man and giving it to McDonald's, Pizza Hut, and all of that. But that takes education. Omari then started 100 different programs, Bakari, for youth. It's hard to engage them today because there's so much violence. Parents don't want to take their kids after school. They pick them up. We walk to school, walk to the parties. But now you go to a school and the parents pick them up, but the parents on the phone while the kid get in the car. No hug, no kiss, no, they on the phone while they're picking up the kid. You understand? Just go out there and look. And it's not about generation gap. The same problem is here. Racism is in different forms. You understand? For people, sister tried to talk to me about Trump. I said, you can't do that to me. You understand? And she's older sister, she always trying to make a point. I said, you can't talk to me about Trump. You understand? Because that's like you being a church person, go tell me what the devil said. That don't even make sense. A man, your natural enemy. and you want to try to say that. First of all, it was Biden that implemented the rescue plan, that gave the money. You understand? I mean, as the brothers say, this man lies the way he breathes. And we got programs now for you, all kind of programs. Getting them a 10 is another challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Getting them to listen is another challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much social media. When we needed answers, we went to people to get them. Even if we were driving in the neighborhood, we didn't Google it. Hey man, where do black people live? You understand? You know, hey man, where's Bloomfield Street? You understand? We went to a gas station if we didn't have a map. These people got so much automation and technology, they didn't left humans out. Human relationships is the key. Now, getting these kids engaged is a struggle. Engaged not only in politics, but in their lives. Martin Luther King said you have to have a blueprint. Martin Luther King was a straight A student in high school. He got skipped, remember? That's how he entered Morehouse in a special program. Malcolm X was a straight A student. Both were voted president of the student body in predominantly white schools. Now here we go. We got Kamala Harris. She may not be the best person, but she represents the best condition for us to progress and struggle. We don't have to vote for people. We vote for conditions. Now under Trump, you got suppression of our vote everywhere. This is a man that created an insurrection because he lost an election. And you don't say, what did he say? 39 convictions? We get one misdemeanor and we can't get a job no damn where. You understand? You got to put down you was arrested. And how was it adjudicated? I mean, I've been a victim of COINTELPRO. I mean, this judge engineered the jury that they had to come back guilty. But I was fortunate enough to get probation. But the other two brothers went to the pen, got sentenced. But because, you know, I mean, it's a struggle, brothers and sisters. You may not be in a war, but we definitely at war. And those that know it, know it. And you got to raise your children as endangered species, not physically, but mentally. Because the system is winning their hearts and minds. So I say, win the hearts and minds is one thing. Talk to them. Talk to them about, as Brother Tommy was saying, and the other brother scientists that deal with space, Brother he and all of them, and all y'all really saying, we got to engage our youth. It's hard for us to get our kids to do anything we want them to do. Brother Joe Hendrick that was on, his daughter came up in Carson. She's practicing her internship as a doctor. You understand? Danny's daughter's talking about entrepreneurship. We need to engage our kids. That's all. Just engage them. But we sometimes so busy drinking beers, hanging out with our friends, getting a relief from our job, buying a new car, and neglecting the fundamentals of family development. You know, every time we point at the young generation, our finger, 3 fingers are pointed back at us. And so we got to look at our role in listening, understanding, caring, and winning the hearts of our youth is one. Second, we got to train them. We got to train them of what are the essential values for their progress. Economic sense, you know, our kids should be dealing with their future at least by the 6th grade. They should know what they want to be and what it takes to be it. It's easy to want something, but are you willing to make the sacrifice to be it? Are you ready to work hard? Are you going to take those algebra and geometry and calculus, and are you going to take them science classes? Are you going to take them engineering classes? You go to school with a strategy, and that way you don't get indoctrinated. You understand? But almost all of us grew up as Americans. We didn't know no better then. It was students that started the Black Student Union, not old folks. They saw a need. They helped students on campus. We got a number of youth organizations. 100 Black men got a mentorship program. We got Black schools. Imhotep in Philadelphia. The brother from Philadelphia should have known about Imhotep. The high school, charter school, all Black. One of the top schools in the city. Not only academically, but also sports, winning championships. Because it's a new way of teaching. It's a new way of teaching. You can't teach the kids the way we were taught. You got to engage them at an early age, make it fun, make it loving, make it caring, make them want to go to school and attend, not just go to school to smoke and get one of them pipes that don't give out smoke. But anyway, I'm not trying to, I think most of y'all know all that.
You teaching.
Well,
Brother Rod, let me sign us off this way that tonight we had a conversation about reaching out to young people. We heard from my daughter, who makes me proud every time I get a chance to listen to her talk to our generation. And it's a conversation that she has, and she's a listener, and she takes what she's heard, like she heard tonight, and will be fashioning it in a way that her peers will hear it and understand it. But you heard also the call she made to say, we need to be there present, having that conversation right along with her, standing at her side, so that she sees that it's young people and seniors in the community appealing to them, seeking understanding, but sharing the knowledge. And that's what we were doing tonight, and we do every Tuesday through the Community Education Network. And Brother Rashaki, I want to thank you, along with Dr. Rahh, for allowing us to have this political conversation and really to work this political conversation in a way that I hope will continue to grow. My challenge to all of you is to bring another young person with you next week or the week after. Bring a young person. Yeah, I'm taking my family on vacation next week, so I'm gonna say the week after. But bring a young person and who's prepared to just say what they feel and share with us their knowledge, their understanding, so we can have that conversation and impart a little of our knowledge and our experience through that effort. I'm proud of y'all, proud of this group of men who've come together to share, to elect this woman, Kamala Harris, President of the United States. In our interests, in our self-interest, we're acting. And that takes a heart.
Dan, we got to let one more person say something.
Please.
Kyle Jackson, Dr.
Yeah, I was going to introduce him. He's been sitting quiet. You see him
still
there.
on the line. Commander of LAPD, went to Long Beach State, grew up in Compton.
Yes, he is.
In the farms, in the farm, and went on to do things, and just an extraordinary brother. And we used to open up the gyms. I used to open up the gym 5 a.m. every day at Compton College. But before that, I used to open up Centennial, where Kyle got his basketball skills because he was the star basketball player at Long Beach State. And those were the days that we did something. See, you want to engage, you do something with them. You ain't just let them go. Go ahead, Dr. Jackson.
You're muted, brother.
You're muted, Kyle. You're muted.
Yeah, just a couple of comments, and thank you for an opportunity to speak. I just think that what young people need, so they can be engaged, is to know that someone is listening to them and hearing their voice the way they speak. Not from our 60, 70-year-old voice, but someone is listening to them the way they speak. And I just harken back, Amen Rahh, when I was at Centennial and you had graduated and went to Long Beach State, but you came back and you taught me how to play basketball. You taught me.
You must
how to play basketball. I was tall, I had athletic skills, but I didn't know how to play. And in the summer, you came and you taught me, and I've always loved you for that. And I tell everybody that.
Yeah.
That you came to me and you listened to me. I told you what I needed, and you provided it. So I think one of the things that we have to do as we move forward, we have to stop telling young people what they have to do and how they have to think and how they have to form their presentations. Just simply listen to them, because they're going to tell you what they're thinking and what they're feeling. And then you have an opportunity to really engage with them so that we can move them forward. Now, the whole issue of some people not feeling Kamala, and I don't know that really in a significant way is the case. I just think that any politician should always, when they're speaking to issues, talking about policy and aspirations and those kinds of things, you got to say something to the young people. We talk about the middle class and our seniors. Talk to those young people and pull them in. They are waiting for that. I know Danny and I are members of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, and one of the things that we talk about is, we have a whole generational thing, some senior guys, some guys in the middle, and some young people that are coming in. Danny and I always talk about make a seat for those young people and give them voice, because they are important too. Yep. So those are just my thoughts, and I'm a living example of what someone did for me when I was 17 years old. And I ended up being inspired by Amen Rahh, and went on to Long Beach State and got my bachelor's and master's and all conference on the basketball team, got a doctor's degree, and moved to the highest rankings within LAPD because someone touched me.
Achievement in every field of human endeavor.
So I'm going to stop now. And those are just my thoughts off the top.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Commander, and Dr. Jackson. Your whole family has done an excellent job. Many of them went to Long Beach, and it was a family affair, But the beautiful thing is that we're winning in all kind of areas. We're not hopeless. There are people doing positive things with you. You have Stop the Violence, Increase the Peace Foundation. I taught parenting class. I taught youth and parents. Know what the different drugs is out there. Know the gang talk. When your son on the phone talking about cuz, blood, you got to know that's what they're talking, gang talk. You got to know what vaping is. You can't just be watching TV and not watching your kids. You can't be watching the Days of Our Lives and while your kids are losing theirs. You gotta get involved with them. I used to meet with my kids like a corporation. Everybody in the green room, we had a green room. Sit down and I listen to them. Anybody bothering you at school? If you have any problem at school, let me know. I don't care if it's a teacher, young people, anybody bullying you. Don't you handle it. You let us handle it. You understand? And I say, now, you can't choose your friends yet. You just got here. You understand? You can't bring nobody home with tattoos and earrings on and funny hairdo. You can get a haircut like Malcolm X, me, or Martin Luther King. That's it. You can't go and get them funny haircut. You running like a military. You understand? And now when you get 18, do what you want to do. You can go gay. I don't give a damn when you're young. But when you're with me, you got to follow orders. You understand? Not mean orders, orders to save your life, not from gangs, but from you. You understand? I gotta teach you not to mess up your life, like many of my partners did, and my friends did. And we going to funerals or coming from funerals today, from so many friends, and we just glad we ain't being viewed, and we going to viewings. You understand? So it's a struggle raising kids. You gotta be in shape. mentally and physically, to raise kids. You understand? And choose where they go and who they be with until they demonstrate to you they have the mannerism, the understanding, and the commitment that don't do no madness. I tell my sons the other day, I say, or the young kids the other day, if you go there and some boys are having sex with girls in the bathroom, don't you join that. Don't you join that. Get away from that. If you see a fight, don't go see it. Don't run over there to see who's beating the hell out of each other. You have to teach them those things. You understand? But you think they know, but they don't. They don't know.
Baba Rahh, this is a contact sport, right?
That's right, brother. You know, brother Dr. Alexander, straight out of Chicago. He didn't work with all the great scholars out there, Mahatma, Hakeem Abuti, and all the brothers that came from there, Juanda Kumjufu, all them brothers. He grew up with them brothers. And so we've been in this struggle since 1965. And I tell you, I'm happy that we got the few that are doing good, that are going to the HBUs, going to UCLA, going to NC. I think Howard graduated 2,500 students at one time this year. You understand? But the system have you thinking that all our kids are the ones that's doing all the problems. But it's not. I'm pretty sure most of your kids ain't doing it because you on top of it. You understand? But there are a lot of kids growing up on their own. Man, Child in the Promised Land by Charles Brown. You know, Home is a Dirty Street by, I think, Alfonso Pickney. Amos Wilson, Black Child Development. There are books on it if you don't know. And you know, I'm just glad that Danny, Brother Bakari, Brother Dr. Jackson, Brother Key out of Detroit. He grew up, he's out there in Hardball City. You understand? With Kirkpatrick just endorsed Trump, the former mayor of Detroit.
Kwame Kilpatrick?
Yeah, Trump got him out of penitentiary, and he's all in.
Yeah, they deserve each other.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
I went to school with Kwame. That's not going to make a difference in Detroit.
It don't make a difference for the Black people that support him. He ain't gonna get no more than 9 to 10%. They don't. They always vote. They got a Black Republican Party. Yeah. People have the right to vote who they want to vote for. And they have the right not to vote. But at the same time, we're trying to get them to see the value of it and vote for Kamala Harris. It's better for us as a people to have her in office than Trump. You understand?
Baba Rahh, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
This is Charles Alexander again. You just mentioned Man Child and the Promised Land, and the brother who just chimed in, who earlier was speaking about, you know, kids need to go back and get the books.
Yes,
I read Man Child and the Promised Land before I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and it was Man Child and the Promised Land that was my coming of age novel, not the autobiography of Malcolm X. And so, to brother's point earlier, you know, our kids got to pick up the books because they got to commune with the ancestors. You can do that. You can do it the audio book. You can go get the actual book. You can do ebooks. But the thing is, you got to embrace the knowledge base because it's there, and it can't be that it can't be that you think Trump is whoever Trump is because of something we did. You got a responsibility in this too, because I read Man Child in the Promised Land. I was 15. Did nobody put that book in my hand? I chose that book. I read Harriet Tubman's autobiography when I was in the 3rd grade. Nobody put that book in my hand. I went to the library and got it. I introduced myself to Sojourner Truth. No, that wasn't a classroom assignment. I saw a Black woman on the front of the book and I read it. And so we do have to engage our youth, but our youth also have to step up And also, in this whole piece, we have to understand that, and this is to your point, Barbara Rise, like, if our kids are disconnected, it's because the parents are probably disconnected. And so this thing is not just, a one-sided generational thing. There's work that has to be done across the board.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So, Danny, first of all, each and every one of you, if you want to have a program where you be the lead discussion, just leave your name and phone number in the chat, and we will contact you. We'll be looking for to hear voices.
Professor Rahh.
Yes.
I'm not going to be able to get it out of the chat. So have them, anybody that there's a form, not a form, but there's a information that you put on the website. You can put your information there or contact us through Professor Rahh or myself. Most of us have each other's numbers. Because
you get my number, right?
I'm not going to get it out the chat.
And I now have your numbers, so I can also share it as well.
And my number is 310-505-2358. 310-505-2358. That phone's on my hip and on my bed mantle. 24 hours, 7 days a week. I ain't never been to sleep in my life. So you ain't.
Once again, 310-505-2358.
2358. And so if you got something, Brother Tommy, if you got something you want to say, or if you want to invite us to say something on your program, you got it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, good brother. I will be podcasting again tomorrow. We broadcast every Thursday. This season we've been starting at 4:30 just because we have a lot of people on the East Coast, and so it gets us into a space where they can enjoy a little bit earlier. We had been broadcasting at 5:30, but I would just say I'd be happy to participate in a session. Brother Tabor has all of my information, and I'd be happy to get a couple of other young folks on that call. I advise, I'm one of the advisors to our undergraduate chapter at USC, LMU, and Pepperdine. And so I can get some other young people engaged who might be able to contribute to the conversation and add some value to what we're trying to share with the younger generation.
Good. I was a guest speaker at USC's Black graduation back in the 80s, and at Pepperdine in Malibu, up the hill. 3% or 7% blacks, but the BSU brought me up to Pepperdine in USC. I'll never forget that Black graduation. It was an excellent one. And that's when students put it on. Our first Black graduation, students put it on.
Yes, we
then
did.
The university started taking over, and now it then turned into the Negro graduation.
Yeah.
The truth.
Yeah.
You need to ask Tommy. Tommy, what day is your show on? Is it Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah, you said tomorrow, Tommy. Tomorrow's
Oh,
Wednesday.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Thursday.
Okay.
Thursdays on YouTube and Facebook. It's Steel Sharpens Steel. Danny has I shared
I'll share it. I'll share it with everybody. So
that was the DNC wrap up, but we have 100 plus episodes. But the DNC coverage is some good stuff, and then even before the DNC, we have a very compelling, unapologetically Black conversation about the political process in our country, and also some pop culture stuff too. So Sinclaire, it's not just boring people talking about just politics. We also talk about some stuff that should be of interest to your generation.
No, I mean, I feel like we are the adults now. I'm an adult now at 30 years old. I feel like even if this is not something that we want to put attention on or put our energy into, we need to, because we're starting to say, well, these little kids don't listen and these little kids are bad or whatever the case is. And I've had 2 conversations just today where I have to say, like, well, you're the adult and what do you show them and what is the model that we're actually being or becoming as a role model to even say anything back to the younger generation. So I think this is needed at the same time, listening to our wants and needs so that we can secure the wants and needs for the people younger than us while we're the bridge, the generation is not having a gap. But also, you guys, you talked about Pepperdine University.
Yes.
And with Bruce Beach being, my friend was one of DeMarco is the guy that helped the Bruce Beach family get the beach back. And he's also been a historian. I want to say he's about 27. He's on his second book right now, writing about the African-American history all throughout Los Angeles.
Very
He's
nice.
teaching at Audubon. Thank you. He's teaching at Audubon. He's teaching at a couple different inner city schools. But you touched up on Pepperdine and learning that Pepperdine was a school that originally was on the east side and moved to Malibu. To my generation, that's major. Like, we weren't always in Malibu. We did have schools around us. We did have universities in our communities. It just was pushed out for whatever reason. But to us, that's like a significant factor to us.
Well, and Pepperdine still has satellite campuses that are much closer than Malibu. So that's another thing for people to consider. I would just say Pepperdine perhaps isn't the most welcoming community for Black folks, but it is an outstanding institution. And if you don't mind being out in Malibu and being away from kind of a lot of Black culture, it's certainly a place for you to get a solid education. Not you, of course, but
No, I had a classmate of mine graduate from Pepperdine. She played basketball there, so I definitely understand what you're saying. They're not too welcoming, but it's a great university.
Oh, for sure.
We're gonna have to close.
Yes.
What's coming up tomorrow, Rashaki?
Okay. Hey, tomorrow we have Mr. Bobby. If anybody's familiar with Neely Fuller, he's the co-host of the Counter Racist Code Show. Mr. Bobby is Neely Fuller Jr.'s co-host. He is our guest tomorrow. And
who is Neely Fuller affiliated with? Dr. Francis
Cress Welsing. So it should be interesting. We're going to be talking about.
Actually, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
But he just said who he's affiliated with.
No. I understand, but it's the other way around.
Yeah.
He's
the mentor.
He's her mentor.
That's right. Yep, he is the mentor. So okay, we're gonna have to close because we did a nice long session and we got some other things going on here at the house this evening. And I just appreciate all of this because it's what we need. And there's more to come. I'm gonna be calling Sinclaire very soon.
All right. You say
thank you.
Looking forward to it. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Each one.
Thank you, Sinclair.
Welcome all of y'all with your wealth of knowledge, experience, and if you got a project you want to talk about that you reaching out to the community or to the people in our struggle for human justice, we believe all humans are divinely chosen to do good and bring good into the world, but you got to choose to do it. And so, it's just a beautiful thing to have this discussion with the diversity of thought and practice and the people from different parts of the country, Louisiana, Detroit. We sometimes get people in like Dr. Charles from Chicago and so we get the knowledge of what's going on in their cities. And I really enjoyed the brother from St. Louis and brother Dr. Carl Jackson. It was just beautiful to see your name up there to make comments, and we deeply appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, it is absolutely my pleasure to be here and to share and to listen. And just as importantly, to see you, Amen Rahh, my first mentor.
And y'all in the Cappers, y'all have beautiful affairs all the time. And y'all always engage in young chapters of young men with Stanley Stain and all of y'all. And we deeply appreciate it.
Baba Rahh, we the noobs.
Yeah.
Hey, and don't forget the Q Sci-Fi. The dogs have always been active.
The Omegas.
Yeah, that's right. Cubes.
My son's one of them. He go to every convention.
Right. He knows something. He got it. He got it. He knows what's up. And I expect nothing less from your progeny.
Yeah, they deep into it, brother. All right, y'all.
All right, y'all.
And as an alpha, let me say this before we break. As an alpha, I'm quite proud with the progression of all of you all.
Thank you very
Doing
much.
just fine. You're doing very fine. You're doing great work out there. Keep up the good work.
All right.